Okay, Simi, you can get started.
Okay, great. Thank you guys so much for coming. We're so excited to speak with you all. Didi and I will be your co-hosts for today, and we're really excited to get into everything that concerns career and industry. So first, we're going to start with a bit of introductions. We have some people still coming in. But firstly, we would love for you to meet the US College Experts team. We have Mrs. Husseini and we have Mrs. Husseini on the call right now. She might need to leave, but Mrs. Husseini, of course, is our founder and college admission strategist. And you have me. My name is Simulua Filani. I'm one of the program coordinators and mentors on the US College Experts team who directly work with your students when it comes to all things scholars mentoring. I'll let Dede unmute and introduce herself as well.
Hi, my name's Adeolua. I am a US College Experts mentor. I assist with reading college essays and, of course, the scholarship program. And I work alongside Atoy Larie, who's not here this evening. She's currently in Ghana, so it's very late over there. But her and I work together in the same capacity at US College Experts. And I'll be one of your co-hosts for this evening.
Yes. So we're going to get into scholars mentoring. Just give a quick overview of what scholars mentoring is and what the program is all about. So basically, scholars mentoring is, like the title says, a place where your scholars get to be mentored by us and other students that have been in places where they would love to be. It's a space where your students get to have those conversations, ask those questions that they might be nervous to ask, and learn as much as they can to prepare them from for pre-college, college, and post-college. We have different workshops like this one that we have today. We have different projects we get them to do, different assignments, but just a space where we foster, open communication and accelerated growth as a group. And now I would love to introduce our wonderful panelists who are here today to share all we need to know about the industry from them. So we'd love for each one of you to unmute and tell us a bit about yourselves, your career journey, and anything you'd like to share with everyone. Does anybody want to volunteer to go first? Or I can just call one of you.
I can go first.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, good evening. My name is
Oh,
Femi Odekunle, but most people know me as Femi.
and I could use another one, but I have listened.
But yeah, I'm a software engineer
Yeah,
at
listen.
Booz Allen Hamilton. Um,
Okay, well, tomorrow I'll actually be debating them. I'll just no, I can just take it back tonight. Actually.
Sorry, please. Sorry. Would the next panelist like to go ahead and introduce themselves? We can start with Dr. Filani.
I had a feeling she was going to do that, but that's okay. My name is Oladunni Filani, and I'm a primary care and sports medicine physician here in Maryland and DC. Um, the question was about career journey. Well, I'm a primary care doc. I went to medical school in Nigeria. Um, Moved to the US about 16 years ago. Did my residency at Howard University Hospital and went on to do a fellowship in sports medicine at the University of Maryland. I was in academic medicine for a long time. Transitioned into primary care, into private practice a few years ago, and I currently serve as one of the medical team physicians for Howard University in DC. So my job is currently both primary care and sports medicine. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Okeagu.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Ndidi Okeagu. I am a licensed attorney, and I also am an ethics specialist at the National Institute of Health. I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill for undergrad. I worked for a couple of years, and then I received a scholarship, a full tuition scholarship to attend Michigan State University College of Law, and I interned at Legal Aid of North Carolina. And then my second year, I had a fellowship at Yale in their immigration clinic. I'm grateful to be here, grateful for the opportunity to answer any questions and to provide feedback on my experience. Thanks.
And Mr. Lasisi.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Gbenga Lasisi. I am a cybersecurity professional. I am currently a divisional CISO at Capital One Financials, that's Capital One Bank. Been a CISO for part of our recent acquisition, which is the Global Payment Networks, an acquisition from Discover. In terms of my career journey, I started my career back in Nigeria. I actually went to undergrad in Nigeria and then came to the US, for my graduate studies. But prior to coming to to the US, I was working in Nigeria in the telecom industry. I had an undergrad in electrical engineering, and I started off as a telecoms engineer in the days when GSM was a teen in Nigeria, helping to kind of roll out all of the different cellular technologies prior to coming to the US for my graduate degree in computer science and telecoms, which became something that I later used in different industries in the US. In the US, I started off as a telecom specialist in Sprint, and that evolved into over time into a role at the World Bank, and I went into consulting before becoming a cybersecurity professional. So happy to be here.
Thank you. And now we're going to get into the questions. We're going to stop sharing so we can make sure we can see all of your wonderful faces and really get to engage with you. So yeah, we're going to get right into it. So the first section is education pathways, starting from the bottom up, really thinking about how do these students set themselves up to be, one day hopefully be in the positions that you are in. And my very first question is directed to Dr. Filani. So thinking about different education pathways, what are your thoughts on the accelerated medical pathway programs such as BSMD programs and the Caribbean medical school routes versus traditional medical school routes? So it's like a loaded question, but thinking about those accelerated pathway programs and also the alternative Caribbean medical school pathways, what do you think about those programs?
Wow, just threw me into the deep end. Boom. So first thing I will say is going into a career in medicine is a commitment. And you have to understand that from day one. One of the challenges that people have is you think about the length of time that you have to be in school. I will tell you that time will pass regardless of what you do. And so being committed to it is important, and recognizing that that time commitment, there's a reward on the other side of it. Now, with regards to the accelerated programs that there are not a lot of them. There are a few of them that are available. They're pretty competitive, but you must recognize that you have to work hard to become qualified for it. And one of the things that disqualifies a lot of people is when there is no evidence of involvement in research. A lot of those programs want you to have had some sort of experience in research projects. You don't have to be well versed in research, but to demonstrate that you have some experience along those lines will help you it will set you apart from other people who are also interested, because those programs are pretty competitive. And you also have to recognize that because they're sort of a shortened version of medical school, the work is also intense, and you have to be prepared for that. Now, the second part of the question is with regards going to Caribbean medical schools. I will say that is a valid option and one that I will encourage you to consider because the U.S. workforce, the medical workforce is shrinking, and there is a need. And based off of that need, that's what led to a significant explosion in the Caribbean medical schools. Now, I'll put a caveat to that. You have to be very careful which one you go to, because not all eggs in the basket are good. Some are better than others. And so you want to be careful about that. Now, the thing to think about also is that there is a cost implication to that with regards going to those schools, because a lot of those schools are for profit, and so therefore it'll be there are cost implications to going to those schools. But at the end of the day, it is worth it if it helps you achieve the goal of what you desire to be. There is no sometimes people think, oh well, there is a tier system with regards how selections are made. I was a residency program director for 8 years, involved in selection of residents for residency. And I tell you this, the it is not the school that makes you. It is what you do with the school that matters, honestly speaking. I had to interview a lot of people, and some of the best residents I had the opportunity to train went to those Caribbean schools, and believe me, they're not less than anyone else. They're not better because you went to a medical school in the U.S. I can ask all of you here, how many times have you asked your doctor, where did you go to medical school? Not a lot. What you want to know is this person competent enough to take care of me? And therefore, how you apply yourself in school is very, very important. So whether you go to a U.S. medical school or Caribbean medical school, it's who you are that matters at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that rounded perspective. Moving over on to Ms. Okeagu, what are your thoughts on accelerated or entry law school programs, thinking about the same acceleration?
Honestly, I don't support them. And I will list my reasons. When I looked up what the accelerated law school programs are, that's basically instead of you finishing law school in 3 years, you finish it earlier. So probably in 2 years or so, that means that you have to work through the summer. For early admission, that means that in your undergrad years, like your junior year, your senior year, you would then apply to law school, and you get accepted. You likely will get accepted by your senior year. And so, and also in this method, you will also finish law school earlier. I think there's a lot of disadvantages to this, being that with a 3 year degree, first of all, most law schools don't even have this option. I'm not talking only about top law schools, but even just, law schools in the top 100, a lot of them do not provide this option. And I think the reason being is because you really do benefit from those 3 years. A lot of your summers are used for your internships, for your fellowships. That's where you really learn, okay, this is the area of law that I'm really interested in. That's also where you build your network. And that's going to be very pivotal in terms of finding a job that you enjoy, finding a job that makes money. So I think the disadvantages of these accelerated programs far outweighs the positives. The positives would be that you finish earlier, it may be less expensive compared to a 3 year degree, but those are the only, I think, positives. I think also it's kind of targeted towards students that may feel like an early admission is better because they may not look at your LSAT, or they may not even require an LSAT. And I will be really skeptical if they don't require an LSAT, because I wonder if they're really accredited law school. I would say do not allow fear stop you or hinder you from really going for the best. If I can speak later about my experience and how doors were open. Even when I look at the numbers, I may not have had the best, numbers, but there were doors that were open. And so, unfortunately, I am not for those type of accelerated programs. Thank you.
Thank you. It's really interesting seeing the parallels and also the differences between medicine and law. But moving on to tech, in this day and age, it seems to be, the field that seems to be very accessible. But so this question is for Ms. Odekunle and also Ms. Lasisi, whoever wants to go first. But my question is, what are the most important skills needed to enter your field? And do those skills require a specific college major? So either one of you, whoever would like to go first. I can also okay.
Yeah, I can go first. Yeah, for software engineering, when it comes to like certain skills, I guess what comes to mind is adaptability. Being able to be adaptable with how you think, being able to learn quickly. I think if anything, actually, that's probably one of the most important things, being able to learn quickly. I mean, as we all know, technology is growing rapidly. Every week there's like a new technology, there's a new language. So being able to be adaptable, but being able to learn quickly, being able to understand patterns, being able to solve problems. I think there's something very unique where it comes. Your mind will set you apart in the software engineering field. Yeah, it's good to like be technical, but a lot of what they're looking for is like people that have brains. It's almost like a brains for hire thing, especially like with AI tools kind of. Oh, actually, I don't want to speak too much of AI just yet. But yeah, in terms of like skills that you need, um, being able to code, I think one thing that helps is even just having at least one fundamental language when it comes to like software engineering. On a back end side and maybe on a front end side, but just having an understanding of maybe mastering a certain language will help. And then I believe the other question is what like should the major in? Um, when it comes to software engineering, I feel like it's one of the fields where it's more about your expertise, more about how you perform on the interview than how like whatever like you studied in college. Yes, I do believe there are certain companies, it depends on like the company you're working for, the field you're going for. Some of them do require like, oh, we're looking for someone that majored in, engineering, computer science, statistics. But because it's so broad, there's people that maybe you majored in law or maybe you majored in public policy, but maybe you did an internship, software engineering internship, and you come on the interview and you prove that you can do the job and you can get hired. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say there's like the traditional is computer science, mathematics, engineering, all of these things. But I wouldn't say that you should feel held back if you didn't major, if you don't major in these areas.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think Femi really kind of covered it. Like, I think all tech fields almost technically require the same set of soft skills. Cyber, more importantly, is actually broader than a lot of people think. Because when folks think about cybersecurity, they think about, hey, I'm gonna be like, a coder or a technical person, super intelligent, in terms of like, researching and, figuring out what the bad guys are doing. But the most important thing in terms of skill from a cyber perspective is curiosity. All right. Like if you're curious enough, you can be in cyber. Right. And, on top of that are other, soft skills. It could be your ability to problem solve. You just like to solve problems. And those problems doesn't have to be technical problems. So in some cases, it could be a governance problem. People just don't know how to follow processes. Right. And if that's, what you're gifted in, it's a very important skill in cyber. Another one could be educating people. Right. People need a lot of training just to do basic things right. And there's definitely a word for that in the cyber world. So I can go on and on, right? Whatever, type of skill sets you bring to the table is applicable in cyber. Case in point, you love numbers, accounting and audit and all of the stuff. Guess what? It's relevant in cyber. So you almost can see any skill set applicable in cyber, depending on, what part of cyber you want to get into. To Femi's earlier point in like, okay, what educational background is required? Any and every educational background is relevant in cyber. And I think that's what most people do not know. It doesn't matter what you did. I've seen, actually, one of my bosses was actually a teacher, and right now she is a CISO at Robin Hood. So you would think like, well, how do the teacher go that far? So I had one of my other, associates who actually went to culinary schools, and he is awesome in his cyber field. So it really doesn't matter. What matters is what brings you into cyber and what really is the soft skills that you bring to the table and what problem is you solving in the cyber domain.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing is
Sorry,
obviously.
can I also
go
add
ahead.
on to
Mhm.
what you just mentioned? Maybe even a point of advice as well is if you think there's a certain domain that you're interested in as it pertains to like software engineering, cyber, for example, I care a lot about government, I'm passionate about politics. there's always room to be able to major in what you're passionate about, but you can still take additional classes. Like maybe your school offers cybersecurity classes, maybe it offers different coding classes, but that's also another pathway to consider as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I was just about to summarize, but what I was hearing is obviously getting those technical skills, but the soft skills really take you to that next level, and also being flexible, adaptable, because it doesn't really matter being cookie cutter software engineering, cybersecurity majors, but being able to be focused on what you're doing, but also being able to be flexible and adaptable. And Mr. Odekunle helped us foreshadow a little bit for our next section, which is AI technology and the future of careers. So my question for everyone is, do you see AI as a disruption in your field? If so, how? And how are you currently using AI? And how do you think students should be preparing for this? I know it's like a three-part question, but thinking about, is AI disrupting your field right now? How are you currently using it? And how should students prepare for this disruption?
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I can jump in. I think like there's a lot of things out there like hey AI is out to take people's job. What I would say is that it's evolving and it's gonna evolve how we think about work and how we work. Right. And yes, it's impacting my space in a very good way. And in some cases, like, in a way that, really kind of cuts down the bureaucracy and cuts down the manual related effort, but builds a lot of capacity and intelligence on how you make sense out of data. All right. Things that I will have, be relying on like 10 people to go figure out, I could literally get in minutes or seconds. And all I'm focused on is the added value versus, spending, a great amount of time on work that don't necessarily kind of, provide value to my customers, right? As a CISO, what I care about is, hey, how is the security landscape, impacting the bottom line for my business customers, right? And a lot of that is reliant on data. And the quality of the data determines what the quality of output that I'm able to kind of, get from, what the threat landscape looks like. So AI capacity on top of like existing data pool gets me to that decision easier, helps me to do the actual work of building strategy on like, hey, what are the threat actors doing? What do they care about? Why do they care about this stuff? And how do I use AI as a tool to defend against those capabilities? Now, how does this impact other fields? To me, it's impacting every field in the industry, right? Regardless of what your field is. Either it's making you get better, right, at what you're doing, or it's changing how your career in itself, like your profession itself, it's been framed or shaped as a whole. So my thought here is everyone needs to kind of get on the AI, bandwagon rather than think of it as something that would prevent you from, getting to your peak in your career. Like start thinking about, how you can use that to your advantage. Case in point, you have an entire AI platform that would take a product from ideation to production without you needing any human, right? Those are the things you want to do. Like how can I get to the market quickly with tools available? So it's just another tool in the toolbox that makes us better in the way we work.
Yeah. I'll follow up just while we're in the space of technology. I think software engineering is a lot of people hear software engineering and there's this thinking of, oh yeah, AI is taking all the software engineering jobs. I think there's even just maybe like a potential growing or waning confidence in the career of software engineering because of AI. Um, Even me myself, there was a point where I'm like, oh, AI, I'm tired of AI. I don't want to have anything to do with AI. But like Uncle Gbenga said, it's here to stay. It's inevitable and it's changing the landscape of a lot of society. I think in the terms of software engineering with AI, there's a level of it can code for you. There's a lot of like, I guess, boilerplate code. Ooh, sorry about that. There's a lot of like busy code that AI can do. There's a lot of just coding in general that you can generate from AI. But what it changes now is like, okay, we're no longer looking for software engineers to just write code for us. We're looking for software engineers who actually understand code, So it's no longer just about, oh, can you code this thing, but do you actually understand what it means to design something well, like a well-architectured system? Do you actually understand what it means to create a technical product? Do you understand what good code looks like? The thing about AI is it'll continue to provide careers because most companies now, especially in the software landscape, it's like, oh, wow, we have this thing that can now increase productivity. There's people that have to train the models themselves. There's people that have to understand how to actually connect the models to the applications that they're working with. There's people that have to understand how, like, what AI actually is. So there's always going to be room for, I guess, work in the software engineering space around AI. But it kind of, I guess, if I can just say it bluntly, it kind of cuts out a lot of people who want to slack off. It cuts out a lot of the people who want to fake and pretend like they know what they're talking about. What AI does is now it forces you to actually understand what actually is software engineering. How, like, what does it mean to like create good code? What does it look like when the architecture of whatever we're building is like, hope I'm not rambling, but what is it, how can I say this? It forces you to actually understand what you're building. So I think that's the biggest disruption where you can kind of cut out a lot of people who don't actually understand what they're working with.
I will also say that AI is definitely a tool. Um, the agency that I work for is Health Human Services, HHS, which under that umbrella or under that is, FDA, NIH, CDC, and our agency, we're actually encouraged to download AI, Claude, specifically made for our agency. But I will, say it's a tool. In my job, I use it. In any legal job, you're going to do a lot of research. It's going to be a lot of writing. It's only going to, I will say, support the knowledge that you already have, the skills that you already have. I don't think, I mean, I know that it can reason, but I don't think it's it can replace your reasoning because your reasoning is backed with years of experience. So you have to have a base level of knowing what to do, how to do a particular job. I wouldn't use it to write, analysis. I mean, because you can't fake it, like if you're just trying to like use it to supplement, that's something different. So I use it. It's encouraged by my supervisors, encouraged by the agency to use it. But again, it's a tool. It doesn't replace who you are and the skills that you bring to the table.
Okay, well, um, when I think about AI, it like everyone's said, it's here to stay. In medicine, it's it's going to become an essential tool. However, it cannot replace human beings. Um, there's only so much an algorithm can do to have a conversation with you about what's going on with you, which is where people still prefer to talk to people who have competence in what they're doing. However, do not don't underestimate the impact of AI in medicine because it will change the way we practice medicine. One of the ways by which it's currently being used, there's several ways it's being used in medicine. One is from a documentation perspective. I don't have to take notes. All I have to do is talk to the patient, and while I'm talking to the patient, the AI software is generating my notes. So what would take me 20, 25 minutes would take me 3 to 5 minutes to edit, and I'm done. That's one way. Another way that it's also impacting medicine is in the field of diagnostics, radiology, for example, where AI tools are being used for things like mammograms and stuff like that. Now, the thing to remember for someone who's considering going to medical school, physicians will still be needed to validate these tools. And so that's essential because the AI is not going to validate itself. Physicians will be needed to develop tools that will be required for providing service later on. So having the knowledge of anatomy, physiology, clinical conditions, and being able to interpret data from that perspective is good. And so don't look at it as, oh, AI is going to replace physicians. No, absolutely not. Well, AI will replace you if you become obsolete in your knowledge. Or if you don't apply yourself, you don't get better. And so going to medical school, I will say definitely make information technology a core part of what you're learning as you are going in your career at every level, including when you're in medical school, because that knowledge, take for example, I'm board certified in family medicine and sports medicine. If someone wants to develop a tool that requires either of those fields, they'll be looking to speak to someone who is board certified in those two separate fields to be able to give them what their knowledge base is. So tech and medicine, it's a good union, but that medical knowledge will still be required. And so nothing to be afraid of as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. So what we're hearing is that AI is not a shield. It's more of a spotlight on what true expertise is, and it should really empower all of you to, dig deeper into the interests that you have and become even better experts in the fields you want to go to. So you're the ones controlling, informing, and influencing these tools. I'm going to pass on to Dede for the next section.
Hi, everyone. So now we're going to get into the part that the high school students really need to pay attention to. Although all of this has been very valuable information. I've learned a lot just by sitting through this call, especially with regards to AI in the industry. It was very lovely to hear your answers. That being said, I have two questions and we don't have that much time. So in order to keep to our time, I'd like to ask that each of the panelists just pick one of the questions to address. So I'll read out the two questions that we have. So for one, there's if a student is unsure about what major or career to choose, what advice would you give them right now? And then my second question is, what is one practical step students can take in high school to explore careers like yours? Classes, certifications, shadowing, projects. Yeah, so think about those two questions, and whichever one provokes you to respond first, feel free to unmute and begin.
Yeah, I'll respond to the first one, but I guess my answer kind of hopefully it covers both. Exposure is one of the best things you can do um, at this age, high school and even in college, before you start making more permanent decisions as like, okay, what do I want to major in? What do I want to do after college? Exposure is one of the greatest things. Exposure, what that looks like, well, I guess maybe in software engineering, internships are available. I know we attribute them to just college, but even as a high schooler, you can pursue internships. There are software engineering programs for high school students as well. Even once you get to college, one of your biggest priorities for the summer is not to just, oh, I'm going to play video games all summer. It's, it's good to have fun, enjoy your summer, but also try your best to land an internship. That's one thing that'll help. You're essentially doing the job. You're getting direct corporate experience before you actually graduate and start working full time. There's also just being able to talk to certain professors as well. Um, Talk to certain professors, see what opportunities are available, research opportunities. Maybe they have a side gig or a side project, especially with tech. AI, go and play around with AI, go and play around with building AI products, read documentation. There's so much things online on the internet for free that you can just explore that will help you kind of just become more exposed to the field of software engineering.
Thank you for your comment also on the internships. So those scholars that are currently in our program and possibly those who are prospective, I'm sorry to cut you off, Dr. Filani, but we're currently working through passion projects and internships and finding those career opportunities, as Femi has said, like are really important, hence why we're focusing on them within our cohort. So just keep that in mind.
All right. So in medicine, it's a little more challenging because medicine is after your first degree in most situations. But what I would encourage you to do, I like what Femi said, enjoy your summers and because look, you can't buy back this time. That's the honest truth. But the earlier you get exposed to what you're interested in, the better. You can make a quick decision on whether I do like this or this is not for me. While I used to work full time, like I said before, I was full-time faculty at Howard, and I had a few people actually come shadow over the summer. And a couple of people have gone on to become physicians. A lot have been like, no, don't want to do that. Just look good on paper to say I'm doctor this, but in real life, nah, don't want to do it. I think I freaked someone out when I did a procedure in front of her. And she probably hasn't forgiven me till today, but hey, you have to see the real stuff. So having internships, talk to people. Believe me, most people are willing to have you come shadow, especially if you're in high school. It's fairly straightforward. It's a good thing for you to do, sort of to set you in that mindset to see what a typical day in the life of this person is, and you want to get a variety of experiences. When it comes to research, um, while you're in high school, more challenging. While you're in college, more important because when you're in high school, people are like, yeah, maybe, maybe not. But if you're looking to go to medical school, wherever you go to college, believe me, if they have a medical school, they find a professor there, someone who can take you on. If they have a project that they're doing, maybe paid, maybe unpaid, volunteer for it, show up, let people see your interest, because these are the people that you're going to ask to write you letters in the future. And if you don't make those connections early, it may be a little more challenging for you. Don't wait till your fourth year of college to decide, oh, I want to go shadow someone or I want to do this. First year, go. There was a first or second year student at Howard who just walked into my office. I'm interested in this, and boom, that was it. He's a family physician today. And so it's important for you to expose yourself and talk to people. If you know someone that's doing something you're interested in, or someone that may know someone, talk to people. Look, as a high school student, you can get away with a lot. I promise you that. And most people would want to encourage you. And I will give a shameless plug. We need more Black doctors. So please, there are about 6% of doctors in the country are Black. You can imagine what that population looks like. And so, please, if you are interested, feel free to approach me and talk to me. We can try to find you opportunities as well. So, don't hesitate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can add in here. I would, maybe share personal experience. I think for me, while I was in high school, what made me not go into medicine was exposure. A doctor actually did a procedure in my presence. I'm like, yeah, not me. I don't like the blood. So, but it's the same exposure that actually really did help me to determine what I wanted to do. So on the flip side of it, so like there's someone who did electrical stuff like repairing electronics. I, was exposed to them, did a kind of pseudo internship with them, and I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. I love to fix stuff. I can do it. And that's what determined that for me. So I think both Femi and Dr. Filani captured it well. Exposure, 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 it matters. Now for those who want to go into tech, I think there's a lot of way to explore that. Now, there's a lot of organizations that do pro bono services in tech or cyber, and they will gladly take on interns, of course, not paid internship, right? But the key thing is that you've been exposed to that, for organizations who are doing it for free and who are willing to take any resource to support them. So exposure, exposure, exposure. But that said, if you don't know what you want to do, it's okay. I think there's a lot of opportunities to pivot, in the future. Right now, things are much more fluid. It almost really doesn't matter what your undergrad is. You can easily pivot if you choose to or desire. And to Femi's point, there's a lot of information out there that you can use to just understand, what's out there, whether they meet your interest or not. The people will make tons of video about what each career field is. Watch those videos, like learn about those fields, ask questions of people who that are in the field. It would help you at least understand what's ahead. And again, if you choose one path today and you decide to pivot in the future, there's always that opportunity to pivot as well.
Thank you.
I also say, like when I was in high school, I thought that I was gonna go into medical school. I was in HOSA, Health, which stands for Health Occupation Students of America. I was the president of that. I was also on the regional level. I got my CNA when I was in high school. But I think that really helped me because I realized, I really don't like hospitals. And I also would say, being Nigerian, there are certain careers that are highly encouraged, whether, the top three. And I would say back then when I was younger, I just thought, oh, this is pressure and all of that. But I really now, as I'm older, I now see the wisdom, I think, in what my parents were doing, encouraging all their children to do. I will say you have to have a good foundation, and that foundation is that you are excellent in whatever you do, that you're excellent in high school. This is not the time to be lazy and say, oh, well, I can figure it out. I can, make it up in college. No, you need to have that foundation of excellence now. You need to be excelling in your schoolwork, taking those honor courses, those AP courses. You need to just do well, be involved in volunteering and extracurricular activities, leadership opportunities. Take that, because that foundation is going to help you in college, even if you don't know exactly what you want to do. I will also say you have to take some time to do some soul searching. What are you naturally good at? For me, even though I thought I was going to be in the medical field, that's what I thought I was going to, I remember that, oh, I'm really good at writing. Like, I, would apply to different essay contests and I would win. And some of them I wouldn't even try that hard. And I remember writing one essay like doing morning, like I forgot what they call it, the morning break, whatever. And then I found out I won. And to me, that was just gosh letting me know, Ndidi, this is something that you're good at. You're good at speaking. And so you need to also take some time to see what am I naturally good at. And then also you need to, like everyone said, internships, asking questions, from family, friends, people that or just looking up people. A lot of people really do want to help, going on LinkedIn, doing some research to see, okay, I really like this person or I like their career. And then also I would say, like I said before, really figuring out what am I naturally good at. And then also thinking about the future. I hate to say this, but I just have to be practical. What will make money? How, thinking about your family, like you have to look at those careers where you can take care of yourself and your family. And that's something that brings you joy, I think is very pivotal, whether it's helping other people. In law, there's just so many different directions you can go. You don't have to, if you don't want to practice traditionally, you don't have to. There's other options, so many different options that you can do. So I think you all are doing well. Just even being on this call shows that you're passionate and that you're interested in your success. So we all are here for you and support you in all that you're doing.
So one other thing that I will ask that I would add to this is I said earlier that there is a shortage of Black doctors in the country. There is a shortage of male Black doctors in the country. And I'm being very specific about that because there are places that are paying for male students, male medical students to come to medical school. I know at least two people who their medical school has been fully funded by the school because they worked hard. Don't get me wrong, it's not just someone's not going to come to your doorstep and say, "Hey, come and do this." No, they worked hard. I know a young man. He's in third year now in school at Duke, and he applied to I think 8 different medical schools and got into at least 5 of them. And he chose the one that was closest to home for him. So, for parents that are on here, if your son's interested, ride that interest because there are places that will pay for him to go to medical school. Ladies, work hard. There are places that would also support you, but people recognize that shortage and it's pretty big.
I also want to jump in and say so what Dr. Filani was saying. My brother was one of those that benefited. I mean, of course, he worked hard, exceptionally hard. He went to University of Chicago for undergrad. That was paid for. And then for medical school, he went to UNC Chapel Hill. that was also paid for. I think it was like North Carolina has like their board of governors scholarships for certain professions. And now he is a cardiologist. He finished 2 fellowships, and he's doing well, and he loves what he does. And there's work-life balance, and he gets paid well. Um, I would say also for the legal profession, there's only 4% of lawyers are Black women, so that's a very, I think it's even less than that now. I feel like it's 3%. And so there's definitely a need for Black attorneys, women attorneys, and there are also, like I said earlier, I also received a scholarship to law school. So there's scholarships out there. My sister received a scholarship to nursing school, but you have to have that foundation of excellence right now.
Thank you all for sharing your wisdom. What I'm hearing is that the best way to explore is to be excellent, but also through exposure. So those internships, the shadowing, it's all important. I shadowed a friend's dad in high school, and now I'm looking for jobs in like the PR industry, right? So, these are the years where people are willing to take you on, especially if you expose interest in a career. Adults love that because you're so young and it shows that you're eager to learn. And that is part of that excellence, truth be told, that colleges want to see. So, um, glad we're having this panel to expose you all to people who are willing to assist you with that too. Now we're moving on to our Q&A section. Some of these questions have been answered already throughout our call because it's just been so informative. So what I'll do is specifically ask a certain person a question, if that is okay with our panelists. And I'm going to ask that you keep your answer to under a minute just because we are running out of time officially. I will start with Femi because he is the closest to being a graduate from college, although many years ago. But someone asked, or Ethan asked, how do I know what classes to take for a certain career path?
I like to break things down. How do you know what classes to take for a certain career path? First question, what is the career path? Second question, what are the majors normally attributed to that career path? What are the requirements to get this job? Maybe you look at the job role. Maybe you talk to people in that career. Is there a certain major that's required? Okay, what major does my school offer? What are the classes within that major? And I guess that's my answer. Hopefully that answers the question.
It does. I'll also add on, depending on the college you go to, you will have an academic advisor. So they will support your needs throughout your career. So they'll support your needs academically to get to the career that you desire. But it's up to you to know what your career entails.
And then also, maybe you aren't majoring in that specific career path, but then what are the courses that maybe give you the skills or knowledge to perform, I guess, the job duties of that same desired career path as well? So I guess software engineering, maybe you don't want to major in computer science. Maybe you'll take maybe data structures and algorithms level 1. Maybe you'll take level 2 as well. So I can at least have that experience back to that exposure that we spoke about before.
Okay. Next question that we have on here is for Dr. Filani. What was the most difficult part of your process in becoming a doctor?
That's where do I start from? I just want the early days of, in all honesty, um, looking back, the volume of work, probably I didn't. So let me take it back a little. So going to medical school for me was through a process of elimination. I knew I could not calculate 5 steps. Once I start math, once you get to like step 5, I'm lost. So I knew there would be a lot of bridges that would go down if I did civil engineering. And just like Ndidi said, she liked writing. I hate writing. Um, all that all that drama wasn't me, but I like biology. I like taking care of people. And then I had an experience when I was like 9, nearly chopped my finger off, and the person that took care of me loved it. So going into medical school for me was not doing that. Interestingly, I would have done IT. Interestingly, I would have done computer science, but that also required math. I was like, I'm not doing that. So it was path of least resistance. And therefore, it wasn't one thing that was difficult. I just saw every stage as a challenge that needed to overcome. I didn't see it as, oh, this is hard. There was something I used to do then when I was in medical school. There were these guys who were like 3, 4 years ahead of me in medical school. One of them was my friend. We used to watch soccer together. And I used to look at him, I was like, if this guy can become a doctor, I can become a doctor. I'm very sorry. He's a pilot now, by the way. He finished medical school and decided, nah, not doing that. Went into pilot training. He's a pilot, flies all over the world. He's loving it. But he was my target. I was like, if he could be in medical school, I think I could do it. And I think I could work harder than he does. And so every stage had its challenges, and I just took it as, okay, this is the next one, let's get on with it. And looking back, the volume of work it hit me hard in my second year when you were given an anatomy textbook and one lecture covered like 4 or 5 chapters, and you had to study it in 2 weeks for the next quiz. I'm like, golly, I'm gonna go crazy at some point. But one of the things I learned is everything is in systems. When you figure out the system, it was easier to keep up with the work. When you're trying to just cram the volume, no. When you gain understanding, it was easier. So it wasn't one thing. There are different challenges at different levels. And then when you graduate, there's residency. After residency, there's work. Even now, this weekend, I was still doing CME stuff to maintain my certification. And so it really isn't one thing. It's more of, okay, just know that at different stages, there'll be different challenges and you go for it.
Thank you. For Miss Ndidi, what made you realize you wanted to become a lawyer?
That's a hard question for me because after college, I worked for a couple years actually in the construction industry. Um, I hate to admit this, but it actually was family pressure that made me say, okay, I think law school is the best option for me. The construction industry, and back in 2008, went through a downturn, a lot of foreclosures. And I just was in a stage of my life. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? And it was either, according to my family, according to the pressure, it was either nursing school or law school. And I said, okay, well, I don't want to be a nurse because I really don't enjoy hospitals. And so I said, okay, let me try this law school thing. And so I prepared to take the LSAT. And I kind of, I don't want to say it's only my family. I think definitely God uh, shows you and leads you. And I think that's where it was what it was for me. Like I said, I don't think that I had the highest numbers. In fact, studying for the LSAT was very difficult. It was very challenging. But I even have a testimony with that. But even with my numbers, God opened the door. And so I think definitely having the scholarship definitely made me feel like a peace in my heart. And that was confirmation for me. And then just other things that happened in my law school journey. I didn't follow the traditional path. Like I'm not what you see on Law and Order. Like I'm in the office. I'm more of the compliance, the ethical side of it, but I enjoy it. And so, yeah, so it wasn't, I don't have this like, oh my gosh, I really wanted to. That's really not my answer. It was family pressure, but I believe that God used it to lead me to the right path.
Thank you. We have a couple questions in the chat, so I just want to touch base really quickly. Simi, do you think it's best we address those first, or should I ask Mr. Gbenga his question now?
I think we could do Mr. Gbenga and then come back to the question. Yeah.
Thanks. And those questions that I asked for Ms. Ndidi and Dr. Filani were from TFES. So thank you for those excellent questions and thank you for your excellent advice. That being said, I think we've spoken a lot about how to find your way towards a specialization or a major. But I guess for Mr. Gbenga, how does one devote their entire life to one's career and stay happy and fulfilled in that career? I think that's a very interesting question for the tech industry, especially because it's always changing. And that question is from Dabira.
That's a tough question, but I'll take a quick stab at it. Before then, I just shared a resource there, and this is mostly for parents or even like, the high schoolers who are considering going to cyber, that is a resource that helps you navigate every aspect of the cyber field. It tells you, what's required, what kind of skill set, what kind of training, what kind of undergrad, whatever you need for each aspect of cyber. So that's it. So to the question, I think it's not about dedicating yourself to a career. It's about dedicating to yourself to what makes you stay fulfilled. I started off my career as an electrical engineer, right? And I loved it when I started. I was literally, as a high schooler, listen, helping to wire buildings all across, fixing stuff, making antennas, assembling computers. It was great. That evolved into like a telecom, right? I saw it at one point in my career as fascinating. Just helping to kind of enable technology that makes people call easily in Nigeria. That to me was fascinating. At some point, that didn't fascinate me anymore. It was securing systems, cybersecurity, and at that point, I felt like I needed to pivot into something else. And what I did at each phase of that journey, I was upskilling, right? What's needed for my next phase? Upskill. When I'm, feel like, my mission is accomplished there, what's the next thing? I help skill and go there, right? So to me, it's more like what makes you get fulfilled in each journey, not so much about, being fixated on one career. Yes, some folks might be, might be able to get that fulfillment in one single career overall, but the key point is not the career. It's about you and what makes you, fulfilled.
Thank you. That was such a wise answer. Well, it's not like I didn't expect that, but okay, well, we have two more questions and then we're going to go to our closing. For these next two questions, if we could keep the answers really, really brief, just so that we don't go too overtime, because we've already hit 9:02 and I know it's a work night and a school night, so we got to get to bed. So IBK had a question for Femi, and I don't know if you just want to unmute or if oh, there it is. How did you learn to code? And what are some resources like books or websites? Or what are some good resources like books or websites?
Yeah. How did I learn to code? I think high school was my first like coding class. I actually hated it. Didn't do too well. Didn't like my teacher. There was two, I think in 11th grade, I didn't like my teacher, wasn't good in class. 12th grade, hated my teacher, said I would never become a software engineer. I would never do this career. Didn't do well in class. But interestingly enough, I think I took some courses in college where I actually had a good experience. Sorry, I need to keep this answer short. It was through class. I learned through class. That's how I learned to code mostly. It started in the classroom in high school, and then it continued in college. And then from college, from class, it led into me just doing personal projects on my own as well, just growing that skill, and then doing internships where I'm also coding. Kind of just putting yourself in consistent environments that you're consistently training that skill. That's my answer.
If you don't mind, let me chime in. I know I didn't bring this up. At some point, I was a coder as well. And I think what drew me into coding is more like the love for translating code into something that works. Right. So there are different, aspects of coding. There's software coding, there's hardware coding. For me, it was more robotics, right? Just had coding and seeing what I created work. So one way to learn is find out how coding, impacts your passion, right? If it's about results or things like that, you could really literally, develop, love for ones and zeros.
Thank you for sharing, Uncle. Our last Q&A question is for Miss Ndidi. People often say, and it's from Ora, people often say that any degree that helps you think is good for law school. Example, English, poli-sci, economics, policy, and I'm going to put communication in there too, because I studied that. But what majors do you think set you up for more success with just a bachelor's? Do you notice more success / scholarships for law school for some majors more than others?
Well, that's a good question. I've seen a lot of different majors, honestly. In law school that people majored in undergrad. I personally majored in journalism and mass communications and had a minor in so, and again, I didn't know I was going to go to law school, when I was in undergrad. And my minor was social economic justice, which I thought was fun. I did really well in my minor. Um, I've seen a lot of political science majors, a lot of journalism majors, communication majors, then further their education in law school. But I've seen so many things, even nursing. There's a lot of nurses also that go to law school as well. So I think it's very diverse. And I think even just it speaks on how law is now is very diverse, and options and career opportunities. So um, I think go with what you're interested in, and if you have those skills, in writing, communication, then you will do well in law school. So yeah, that's what I would say.
I'm not by any means interested in law, although people tell me I should be a lawyer all the time because I talk a lot. But I study communication, so it's expected. But I will say I also studied Africana studies, which is essentially like Black studies or African studies, and that's also a very popular one. But with law, the best thing, like Ms. Ndidi had said, is just to study what you're passionate about because it'll show through and translate into your applications as well. And you have so many opportunities and extracurricular works and passion projects and internships that can show your interest in law. That's the beauty of pre-law. It differs from pre-med in that way where you have specific classes that those med schools need to see on your transcript. But with law, like anything that brings out your passion and feeds into what you want to study in law. For example, I know someone who went to Penn's nursing school, which is the #1 nursing school in the world, and is still interested in law and worked on Capitol Hill one summer during her time in college. And
Oh, yeah.
she's interested in both that medical and that law side. So really it's about what you're interested in and what you feel like you will bring you the most success.
And can I just add one thing? You said something about the application process. I think that's really where it shines, like your uniqueness, and your passion, because I don't think it was simply the numbers that presented that scholarship. I also think it was my personal statement, which highlighted what I did after college was construction. And so I think you just, go with what interests you, and that will shine when you apply and present opportunities like scholarships.
I see. Yeah. We missed a question. So this goes to Dr. Dunni. As a program coordinator, what do you look for when reviewing medical school applications, and how can our high school scholars set themselves apart?
That's a very good question. So, full disclosure, I was a residency program director, not a medical school application director. And so I dealt more with people who had gone to medical school and were applying for residency in family medicine, which I was a program director. But I was involved with helping out students who are interested in medical school, so I can answer that question from this perspective. First, it is the how broad-based your experience is very important. You don't want to be so narrow in, oh, all the things I want to do are in biology, 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 or all the things I want to do are just related to medicine. The broader your experience, the better an applicant you are, because the people are also looking for a well-rounded person. Did you hold any leadership roles? Do you have any leadership experience? What's your knowledge base like? Now, the MCAT, everybody's going to study for the MCAT and try to score high to get in. So the question is, what else? Are you just a score, or are you a well-rounded person who has done different things in different places that would stand you in better stead than someone who scores the highest in MCAT and did nothing else? It's the same way when people are looking for people to hire. Do you have any job experience? If you work in college, for example, you'd be amazed at how that stands you in good stead with regards looking for a job, because people know that they're not going to have to worry about you showing up to work early. They know that you have a work ethic mindset already. And so those are some of the things. How broad is your experience? And nothing is lost in the experience that you have. The more The more you can do, the better you look as an applicant if those things are, there's a broad base to your application. I hope that helps. And I'll give a shout out to my niece, who's trying to pretend not to know me, but that's okay. I will not say a word. I'll give a shout out to her because I've learned a lot just from observing her in college, and the things that she did while she was at UNC to help prepare her to be a better candidate. The more active you are with participation in things, the better.
Thank you for that shout out. Data, do we have one more question?
I see a hand from I think it's Miss Delight.
Hi, I am actually a parent. I don't know if I have time to just say a little thing. I want to talk about two things. Miss Ayoseni introduced me to this, and I want to say a big thank you to her because I have two kids preparing for college. One of the things I was gonna say was helping kids to like the question someone asked. To me, I don't feel the answer is really completed. So I still want to ask. If my kid doesn't know what to study in school, and he's already like 10th or 11th grade, what am I gonna be able to do? How can I direct or channel him to be able to, or her to be able to say this, like when in Nigeria, people would like come to your schools and give you talks, career talk, and you'll be able to have an understanding of what you like to do, like creating a passion or irritation that makes you to want to pursue something good. So I don't know, these kids, many of them don't know what they want to do. And still, how do we, how can I help my child to know what to be able to do? Then my second thing is actually like an encouragement. What you're doing is really good. Can you just try to form a kind of alliance or association with schools and maybe have programs in high schools or middle schools to give like a career talk to help? A lot of these kids are in school, they don't really know what they want to do. But this kind of a program is really very good. It's going to be helpful for them to be able to have a channel and how they can path their way to the right channel. Thank you.
Yeah, I can try. Sorry, Gbenga, you want to go?
I'll go after you, man. So.
Yeah. So that's a great question. And that's a conversation my wife and I have on a regular basis with regards to our daughter, who's how old is she now? 14. So we personally, I do understand where you're coming from. One of the things that I've realized that does help is exposure. And that's one of the things that my wife, I will give her credit for, creating opportunities for the kids to get exposed to things. Even sometimes when they feel they don't like that thing. You'd be amazed at the number of times that my wife has signed up for this class or signed up for this camp or something for the kids. You'd be amazed at how that has impacted her, that her conversations are different now with regards, okay, I'm thinking of doing this or I'm thinking of doing that. So it's never too late, believe me, 11th grade, even early 12th grade, to expose and constantly have that conversation. It's not something to just say, okay, she has said she doesn't know what she wants to do. I'm just going to sit back. Or he has said he doesn't know what. It's constant conversation and looking to the interest of the kid as well, not necessarily something that, because a kid can say, I'm interested in this. You can help them connect it to how is this related to IT or how is this related to other things that would help them and then expose them to someone who's doing that thing to say, can you have a conversation with this person? Meet with this person, find a mentor like US College Experts is doing right now. Find a mentor, someone who has done that before. I think those are some of the things that can help. But one of the key things is exposure, exposure, exposure to what is available and what opportunities that they can use in that field.
Yeah, and I think Dr. Dunni, you're spot on. I think as parents, the best you can do is to expose them. The other piece is ensure that you're not putting pressure on them. All right. At times we do it unintentionally, and they just might want, like, you know what, if I say it, that's not the direction that, you know, daddy or mommy is leaning towards. So I think exposure is the biggest thing. I think for me, you know, growing up in Nigeria, you know what the pressure is like. Yeah, my parents wanted me to be, my dad specifically wanted me to be an accountant. My mom wanted me to be a doctor, to the point that they bought the farms and said, this is what you're going to do. But, you know, I had a different perspective, right? And one thing they did when they saw that I was resistant and they knew where I was leaning was they exposed me. And they, I think at the time, they took me to an artisan school to learn electrical engineering in the in a way that, you know, wasn't traditional for most parents who were sending their kids to school. But they knew that that was where my heart was, and the least they could do was to expose me to it, even though it didn't align with what they were doing. And sometimes the kids just won't know, because we tend to discover ourselves at different phases in life, right? So it's okay. Be sure that they will find themselves. And I had a mentee who did not know what she was going to be doing until after college, till she actually, signed up to go to GW for grad school to pay $80,000 for what she did not want to do. And we had a conversation. I was like, what do you want to do? She was like, I'm not sure. And we had this conversation way back, like, you know, at some point you had something. And she was like, pharmacy. And today she's a pharmacist. This was 2020, in the thick of the pandemic, where she discovered that. And today she's a pharmacist. So, like, exposure, exposure, exposure. But sometimes we discover ourselves at different times. So don't think, you know, because they can find themselves now, they cannot find themselves later. The best you can do is keep exposing them. Something will click at some point in their own time.
Thank
And
you.
also teach them to excel in what they're doing right now.
That's what
comes
counts.
first.
Yeah.
Because if they're not interested in something now, but they're actually not working hard to excel in what they're doing right now, by the time they realize, oh, I need to do this, the grades are bad. And that not good, not good at all. So you want to teach them to say, okay, you don't know what you're going to do yet, but straight A's. Then you can figure things out later on. But not we're having D's and teachers are calling all the time. No, teach them to excel where they are on their path to where they want to go.
Thank you so much for these words of wisdom yet again. I will also add that a lot of kids can be indecisive right now, but the beautiful thing is that you can apply to colleges as undecided. And so that is not something to be stressed about. I think having seen my parents, I was the trial child. So they went through a lot, and they're just lucky that I'm interested in a lot of things. But one thing I did, I I opened up a book. I bought this book from Amazon that was like many career paths, and I told my dad, I said, please go through this and pick out majors you think I'd be interested in, because I had no idea what to major in. Go through it. Communication happens to be one of them. Then I shout out my friend's dad, who works in PR and crisis work and does a lot of political communication. My mentee's mom is a journalism interest. And so my parents were sort of forcing that exposure in a way that was encouraging, not a way that was like punitive by any means. I'm going to shut up now because we are out of time officially, but I do want to go ahead and ask our panelists one more question. But instead of doing 1 minute, because I think we find it difficult to stick to time, myself included, I'm going to ask for one word to describe what excites you most about the future of your field. Use one word to describe what excites you most about the future of your field. And if one word is too hard, one sentence to describe how you feel about the future of your field or what excites you about the future of your field. Yeah. And thank you, parents, for joining us this evening. It's very nice to hear your voices.
I can go first. And the one word is money. That's the one word.
I like that word.
Mine would be innovation.
Oh, you stole my word. Come
Oh,
on now.
sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Go for it. Um, I don't have one word. I think what I will say about medicine is evolving right now, and there's a lot of evolution in medicine, and you will love it. It's just that's what my word will be, evolution.
I've been watching Grey's Anatomy, so watching them go from that 2004 till now, it's been an interesting
Yeah,
journey.
but that's not a true reflection of medicine, though. I'm not going to argue with you about that, but that's okay. That's TV medicine.
I enjoy it nonetheless.
My my two words is reality check.
Oh, ooh. Care to say anything more?
Time limit, I'd rather not.
Okay, fair, fair. Okay, it is a work night. We are 20 minutes over, but 20 minutes well spent. For our scholars program, Sydney's going to go ahead and discuss our homework assignment. And I would just like to say thank you for your participation and engagement this evening. Thank you to our panelists. It has been lovely hearing what you have to say about your ever-evolving fields. I know I learned a lot and I just graduated, so like these kids are so lucky to hear what you have to say about what they're about to enter into, which is this workforce, which is that collegiate life. So thank you.
Yes, and I would love to echo the same gratitude and excitement and just so much things I was able to learn as well. About to go into the workforce in like 3 months. So it's really nice hearing this perspective before real life is about to start. But we just have a few things for our scholars. This is our third session, so we have homework that they have to do before the next session. So I'll just share my screen to share what that is really quickly. Okay. So up next we have our college list bootcamp. I'm trying to make this big. Okay. Yes. So we have our college list bootcamp where we're trying to get our students to start thinking about these college lists, thinking about targets, safeties, reaches. So we want you to research and explore career paths or fields of interest based on what you've heard today. And we hope we've helped you to get to think about those. I think I just cut out. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so make sure you take notes on what you like, what you don't like as questions arise. And we're going to send this in our group chat as well. So your homework is to reflect and write on these insights you've gotten about these career paths. Think about how you're feeling about your sense of direction. Are there other fields and options you want to explore? And we'll make sure to talk about that right before we do our college list book. And we're going to make sure we communicate this with you. And we already did the questions, so I'll stop sharing. I know we're out of time. But thank you again to everyone for coming, to dedicating this hour in your Monday, well, hour and 20 minutes in your Monday evening. We really appreciate you all, and we hope you have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Right.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank
Good night.
Is Aura them?
Maybe perhaps not. I'm not sure if we can enter out. Do you have access to end the recording?
Oh, yeah, true.